Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by a very special guest, sophomore from the Holy Cross women's hockey team, Grace Johnson, joins the show today. Grace, welcome to the podcast. How's everything going?
It's all good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, this is such a cool experience, and I've been so excited ever since I got the opportunity to do this, and I'm just very happy to be here. But yeah, I'm doing good. Just kind of middle of the school week, doing school. But yeah, it's all good. Thank you again for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. How's everything going with yourself school-wise? I know you've been dealing with an ACL injury, so how's that been going for yourself? And just talk about the recovery process. And has it been what you expected, or has there been some more bumps in the road than you expected or didn't expect, I guess?
Mhm. Yeah, so I tore my ACL on February 6th, which was about 3 weeks out of the end of the season. I actually tore it in a game against Providence. It was my first shift of the game, just kind of was skating like I normally would, kind of pivoted for a stop, and it just buckled underneath me. And it was really odd because I wasn't in any pain. When it happened, I just kind of like knew something happened to my knee. I've never had a knee injury before. Um, got like taken off the ice, did all the tests on my knee. They're like, oh yeah, like not sure what it is. It's not an ACL. Like they couldn't figure it out with all the tests. Eventually I had to get in with an MRI. I could walk normally. It was super weird. And then eventually found out it was a torn ACL. So then it's been over a month since I tore it, and I had surgery on Thursday. So I had surgery 6 days ago. So it's been crazy because I've been able to go to Florida. I've been able to go home for spring break. I've done almost everything perfectly except for being able to skate and run. Um, so it's been a really weird switch from being able to do everything I wanted to do to now kind of feeling the injury and feeling like behind, a few steps behind. So yeah, it's been hard. I'm just crutching around right now. Swelling is still pretty insane right now. Seeing my trainer almost every day of the week. Mobility, I got my knee to about like a 90-degree angle bend. So it's just kind of controlling the pain and then making small steps. So it's definitely eye-opening, and I'm taking it day by day for sure.
And when do you think you'll be back on the ice for Holy Cross next year? Are you going to miss the whole junior year just because I know ACL injuries take like about a year and a half to kind of get through?
Yeah. So I'm hoping I will be skating in 6 months. The doctors think that I'll be skating in 6 months. I have this amazing surgeon that has done a bunch of Bruins knees, a bunch of Red Sox knees. He's actually down with the Red Sox in Florida right now, but I get to see him almost weekly. And he said that because I'm going in for PT 6 times a week, 5 times a week, rather than 2 times a week, they are going to be a little bit more aggressive with my PT. And I also didn't damage any other ligaments or tendons. I didn't tear my meniscus or anything. So they're going to be a little aggressive with PT. And I believe I'll be skating in July or August. I'm hoping. And so I think I'll be able to be back before the end of next season, if not at the very beginning. I'm just hoping.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
yeah,
like
it's
around like
perfect timing.
Thanksgiving time, I guess, is like that good estimate.
Yeah, I think like maybe October, hopefully.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like they're gonna push me, I guess. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping I don't have to miss much. I only missed 5 games in the spring after I tore it, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I wish you nothing but a speedy recovery, and I can't wait to see you get back on the ice soon. I know you're dying to get back on there, and we're dying to see you play back on there as well. So, but
Yeah.
besides the injury, how's everything else been going for yourself, both on and off the ice?
Yeah, school has been great. I'm a double major at Holy Cross, so I major in economics and political science. It's definitely a stretch for a student athlete because we definitely are on the ice lifting, working out near 30 hours a week, around there. So it's really hard. But I love academics, and I went to a high academic high school, and I just really love pushing myself, both athletically and academically. It's just both are almost equally important to me, which is amazing. I love it both. So I mean, it's been stressful and definitely hard with the injury, but this year has been so much better than last year in terms of COVID and meeting people and going to classes and seeing people's faces. It's just been like a much better year all around. And so I'm really enjoying it. Although there's been definitely a couple moments of adversity. It's been great.
Well, that's good that you're enjoying it. Obviously, how do you like balance the academic and hockey part? Because it must be tough during the season.
It's definitely hard. One thing that I think is really important is time management. And luckily, I learned that at a really young age because it's really hard to be an athlete at any level and be a student. It's really something you have to balance as life goes on. And luckily, my parents have really helped me with that as time has gone on. And it's just something that I like to do. I push myself sometimes and maybe a little bit too hard, and put a little bit too much on my plate. Sometimes I don't get enough sleep, that's for sure. But I just love it both. And if you don't love it, like it's hard to push yourself. But I love both academics and athletics, so works out pretty great for me.
That's good to hear. And don't worry about the sleep thing. That's something I struggle with too. I only got like 3 hours last night, so definitely something I
That
need to work on.
don't Yeah, it's definitely an issue. And my mom has been seeing me doing homework this week in the hotel room because I'm with my mom. She's out here for a few weeks helping me out with my ACL injury. But she's been telling me to go to bed, and I'm like, Mom, I can't. Like, I got work to do. I've been in school, I've been doing PT. So definitely she's now seeing how much the lack of sleep I get every
Yeah.
night. Not a good thing, but
Some of it's because like you like want to get everything done like all in one night just so you don't have to worry about it the next day and you like kind of cram it all in, which you probably for at least for me, I probably should spread it out more, but it's just hard to do that just because I just want it done.
oh, I cannot go to bed until all my homework's done. It's just
Yeah.
that's how it is. And it's hard because my mom's now having me do homework in the morning. But you know what? It's all good. We're learning here. Lots of learning happening. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I have a friend that just like waits until like the last minute to get everything done, and I don't know like how he does it. It makes me crazy. So I'm not that way. I know there is people that way. I don't know how people do it though.
No, that's definitely hard to see for sure. I agree with you on that.
So I want to now transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you're now today with Holy Cross. So you're obviously from Minnesota. So talk about growing up in the state of hockey and how'd you start playing?
Yeah. So yes, I'm from Minnesota. I'm from Minnetonka, Minnesota, which is about 20 minutes, 15 minutes outside of downtown Minneapolis. It's in the western suburbs. And yeah, I started skating at a very young age, probably 3 or 5 years old, but I wasn't skating with hockey skates. I was skating with figure skates, just for fun in a rink nearby. My dad would just take me and my little brother out, and we would just skate around and have fun. I did try the figure skating, didn't really like figure skating, but then once I started getting into elementary school, I started noticing a lot of the boys in my grade, in like third grade, like playing hockey, and I just thought it was so cool. And we didn't really talk much hockey around my house, and my parents kind of chose not to because it's just such an expensive sport. There's a lot to get into it. Once you're in it, it's just a lot. But I was a big soccer player. That was kind of my thing. And then one day in fourth grade, I just said to my parents, I said, I want to play hockey. And they're like, okay, let's go. So I would say I was a pretty late bloomer to the sport. Like it definitely wasn't an early start for me. But I started out playing boys. I went to a school called Hopkins and I played boys there on the very lowest, like the lowest level of squirts. And I absolutely loved it. And I actually had a really great trajectory of getting better. I was moving on to different levels and I was getting better. I'd come back to Hopkins and I'd make the A team. It was just it was much of a springboard for me. I got really good at skating, and it just kind of started from there. And I think like part of it was the reason why I grew so much as a player so early was because I chose to play hockey. It wasn't like my parents starting me out in hockey. I wanted it for myself. And that's what I believe really made me a great player as I was young. So I was playing boys for a while, didn't really get into girls hockey, occasionally some summer tournaments, but then I ended up playing checking. I was in like 7th grade and I was doing checking with the boys. And I ended up breaking my collarbone and having to get surgery, screws and plates in 7th grade. And that was the end of boys hockey for me. But after that, I said, you know what? I think it's time to start playing girls hockey. So I eventually moved from Hopkins School District. I transferred to a school called Blake, and I transferred in when I was in 8th grade. And I tried out for the girls' high school team, and I made the team as an 8th grader. And ever since then, it's been girls hockey, except for pick up at the pond with the boys. But other than that, it was Blake, and Blake kind of just was my springboard to college. So yeah, that's how I started.
That's always good to play for the love of the game, just because I feel like that's when like you're more motivated to like want to be a better player. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
when people are forced to do something, they're not as motivated, and then just the love of the game's not there, so they're not going to be developing as much just because they're just only going to be played when they're told to play it, I guess. So that's definitely something that's important is just to play for the love of the game for the first thing, and then obviously the other stuff comes after that.
right. And also like there'd be times where as I'd be getting older, I'd be seeing girls just quitting and boys just quitting. Like it just kind of
Yeah,
people just drop and drop because they just didn't love it. And that was something that was like really important to me, is something like kind of learn like a lesson that I learned early on is if you don't love something that you're doing, you're not going to be successful at it, because when you love it,
absolutely.
you just have that drive to push yourself hard. And yeah, I'm just very happy with how I started. And I'm just, it was just the perfect experience for me, I'd say.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the Wild? Was it a women's player on the national team? Like, who did you like watching growing up?
Yeah, so since I started a little bit older, I didn't really like watch the game when I was like a little kid. It actually was a girl named Nina Rogers, and she played at Hopkins. I was in, I'd want to say elementary school when I met her. She was in high school. She had the hardest shot on the team, and it was just such a hard snapshot, and I've never seen something like it. She was just so amazing. She would reach out to me all the time. I would come to her games. I was her little fan. And then eventually she ended up playing at the Gophers for Division 1. And so she played there for a few years and ended up transferring to Boston University. So she played at BU for a few years. And actually, my current coach was her head coach at Boston University, which was really, really cool because eventually, like, we can get into this, but when I committed, I was talking to her about how awesome my coach I have now is, and it was just really, really, really cool. So she's always been someone I've looked up to at a young age. She was just so nice to me, and now she's actually one of the coaches at Dartmouth for the women's program, which is really fun. And then in the summers, as I've gotten older, I've actually played in scrimmages against her with college girls and professional players. It's just been really fun, and just it's just crazy because she's basically seen me grow up, and I've been eventually been able to play against her, which I think is so cool. And play against her school 3 times a year is just so cool. So yeah, I would say Nina Rogers for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. What's she up to now?
Yeah, so she's coaching at Dartmouth right now. She's one of
Oh,
their
that's right. Sorry.
no, it's all good. Yeah, so she's there, and I see her often in the summer around the rink. So it's really
That's
fun.
cool. That's cool. That's cool. Do you think if Holy Cross ever plays Dartmouth, would that be kind of fun for you?
Oh yeah, I would love it. And I mean, I know a lot of players on Dartmouth as well because, and we can get into this later, but my high school team just ended up having almost like 70% of the girls playing college hockey, which is so cool. But yeah, I would love to play Dartmouth because who doesn't want to play an out of conference game? Like
Yeah.
it's so.
I did feel like your team had a lot of them this year, to be honest with you. I felt like there was one against Brown, and that was basically it.
Yeah, well, we played Brown, we played Penn State twice at Penn State, and then we
Oh,
played Franklin Pierce. I don't think we had any other out of conference games, but Brown was definitely a fun one. I've been wanting to play against Brown a lot. I wanted to go to Brown for a long time, and we can get into it later, but um I just was just like loving. I just loved playing against them. It was really fun. It was a pretty even game too.
yeah.
super exciting. And yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite games we played this year.
Now, talk about playing for the Blake School. What was your experience like there, and how did it help prepare you for college hockey with Holy Cross?
Yeah, so Blake was just absolutely amazing for me. Like a lot of kids think back about high school, they're like, "Oh, I hated high school." I loved high school. High school was just like the best. Um I I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it was a high academic prep school, and then we also had really great sports. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. And it was a super small school. Like we only had about 120 kids in each grade. So to be a good sports team, it was really impressive to come out of Blake as a good sports team, just because you just didn't have the numbers. But yeah, I made the team when I was in eighth grade, and I was definitely really young. I was playing with a lot of girls that were going to Princeton, going to Harvard, going to all these big schools. It was definitely another learning curve for me. I actually made the team as a defense. And when I say actually, I switched positions a lot of times in high school. So I made the team as a defense, and I played a little bit of defense and switched to forward mid year of my eighth grade year. But as the years have gone on at Blake, it's just been amazing. So we started off as a single A school, and we won the state championship 2 times, which was just an amazing, incredible experience. Playing at the XL Energy Center, where the Minnesota Wild play, is just so fun. Um, and having your school cancel school to have all the kids come out to watch was even cooler. But then we moved to double A and got into some bigger conferences and sections, and that was also super exciting because we would always play the hardest schedule in high school. We would always, our coach loved just playing hard teams, and it really helped us. We were number one, number two, top five for almost all of high school. I think I only lost maybe 10 games in my career at Blake. It was really, really like definitely something I like loved, and I didn't hate losing, but like it was just something special that I just probably will never experience that much winning again. But it was really, really fun, and I think back in about high school all the time, and I miss it so much.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I wish I had that high school experience because I don't look back on that too fondly as
Yeah.
you do. But that's cool. That's great that you had that. And talk about what it's like being a player in the Minnesota high school hockey scene and just playing at the XL Center for the state tournament and being a player in that scene. Just because obviously it's a lot different compared to other places in the U.S. And we were talking to other players from different areas about that Minnesota high school hockey scene, just because where I'm from here in Massachusetts, it's a little bit different. You don't really get that kind of experience that you do in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota is special, definitely for hockey. Yeah, it's there's about 15 rinks within my like with 15 rinks within a 10-minute radius of my house. It's like insane in Minnesota. It's so amazing to show up to the rink every day for high school hockey and know at least 3, 4, 5, maybe even the whole team that you're playing against. It's just a super well-connected community. There's always games going on. It's just something different. I mean, it's definitely the sport of the state. Like it's not just, oh, it's a state of hockey. Like no, it is the state of hockey. Like it is definitely the main sport. It's just amazing, the youth programs and the amount of like little kids you see walking around the rink. It's insane. Like it's just such a growing game in the country, but also like I think Minnesota has a lot to do with that, just because parents who grew up and played high school hockey in Minnesota, whether they go different places, they have kids and their kids play hockey. It's just something special. And it's funny because we play so many different teams, we know so many different players in the Minnesota community for hockey, that when you go to college, you actually play against a lot of those players as well. It's kind of the same thing. Or I would play against Carly Beanick, one of my current teammates. We were at rival schools together, and now she's on my team in college. It's so amazing. And also just like the level of skill in Minnesota for the national camps and the different like trickle down how do you say this, like programs that go into the USA team or anything like that. there's just so many Minnesota girls trying out that there's so many different checkpoints you have to hit to get to a certain camp or something where other states would not have as many checkpoints because they don't have as many players. It's like really amazing and competitive. And I only wish that every other state could experience like high school hockey like Minnesota does.
Now, I
Oh my
might
God.
disagree with you. I know Minnesota is called the state of hockey, but I think Massachusetts might be up there. I know that that's a debate that some people don't want to have, but I feel like I have to bring it up in the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. I mean, like from what I've experienced at home in Minnesota is the high school teams are just so skilled. It's insane. There's every team is just so competitive with one another. And I think I've noticed like stepping out of Minnesota that there's a lot more instead of high school teams, maybe it would be more like travel teams, summer teams, teams that would go to different tournaments. Massachusetts, I've heard that like prep schools are kind of like a big thing
Yeah,
for school, but it's like every single high school, like from the smallest little high school to a huge high school in Minnesota is playing one against one another. And it's not like, oh, we're traveling to Madison, Wisconsin this weekend. Like, oh, da,
yeah.
da, da. It's just, I don't know, something about it. But I still have to learn a little bit more about Massachusetts hockey because I'm not
Mhm.
completely familiar, but yeah, I'll have to learn about that.
Yeah, no, I feel like the one thing I will say Minnesota has the edge over Massachusetts is in the high school hockey thing because in Minnesota you can play for your public high school and still like develop very well and kind of compete against players that are in your skill level. In
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts, it's kind of difficult to do that. You kind of have to go to a prep school in order to kind of develop. Like I'm from Central Mass, and
Mm-hmm.
Central Mass hockey is a lot different than schools that are near Boston, just because of just the type of rinks that we have here, the proximity, the cost, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I feel like Massachusetts has that's over Minnesota is just the type of hockey you get to see every day. Because in Massachusetts, you can see many different colleges play college hockey. You get to see some of the best players, and you can basically go see 3 games in one day if you really wanted to, just because New England's very good with like the driving distance. In Minnesota, I feel like it's a little more difficult to do that because you can only really see one game, and they're only coming there like twice a time, and just like it's a little that's I feel like that's where it's better here in Massachusetts is the type of
Mm-hmm.
hockey you get to see every day, just because I feel like we're very spoiled just with the players that come here, the schools that we have here, and the type of hockey that we have here with the Bruins and all the college teams that come around.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that. That's a great point. It's definitely cool that you can, at least for Holy Cross, we have like 5 or 6 teams in our conference that are within 45 minutes to an hour from us. Like that's insane. That's so amazing. And I think that is really great for growing the game. You can head to a BC game and then go to a BU game or a Northeastern game and then head to Harvard. Like there's a lot of places that you can go see high level hockey here in Massachusetts, which is great for little kids.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just amazing. But hopefully, maybe TD Garden will have. I don't know. Do you guys have state tournaments at TD Garden?
Yes, not for every state though. If you're it's more for the Boston schools or
Yeah.
some of the prep teams. But at least for
Okay.
my high school, we didn't get to do it at the Garden. We had to do it in
Yeah.
Springfield, which was a little
Oh
disappointing.
yeah. But I mean, see, that's the one thing about high school hockey is completely packed out Xcel Energy Center for boys hockey. It's just absolutely unheard of, and it's really cool. So I mean, I only hope for every state to be able to have that much success, and I do think Minnesota and Massachusetts are probably the top two
Hmm.
states in the country that have such a love for hockey.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. Now let's get to your recruiting process with Holy Cross. What was that like for you, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting question because I was looking at Holy Cross for a long time. I kind of mentioned this before. I started off at my high school as a defense and then I switched to forward very quickly. I actually came out and was doing a couple visits with my dad. We would always come out, fly into Boston, get in a rental car and drive to like 15 schools. And even if I wasn't even talking to the school, we would just drive in, walk in, like look around, get back in the car, go to the next place. But I Holy Cross was a stop on the way to something. I can't even remember anymore. but we stopped by and I just looked at the school and I thought it was so beautiful. I was in ninth grade and we kind of didn't have time for a tour, but we drove through, went up to the rink. The rink and the athletic complex was all under construction at this point, because there's it's just so beautiful now. It's all new, it's brand new. I'm sure you've heard of it, but heard about that. But the Heart Center is wonderful. So I just stepped on campus and I loved it. And I was a freshman and I was a forward and I sent the coaches a couple emails. They were just becoming a Division I school in the coming years, so it was very, very new. But I loved it. And then the next couple of years when I'd fly out to drive around to schools, we'd stop at Holy Cross again and send another email. And then eventually I've been there, I'd say 3 times, just doing campus tours, seeing the rink, all that. Then I switched to defense my junior year of high school. And I came out again. And this is at the point when Coach Katie LaChapelle became the head coach or was transitioning into the head coach position. I sent her an email and they got back to me and they wanted to see some film. And basically from there, that's kind of how it happened. And it was awesome because I saw Holy Cross several times before, and I just like loved it every time I came here. I wanted to go out east. I knew that all along, that I wanted to kind of get away from Minnesota, not because I don't like it, but because I wanted to experience something completely new. I wanted to go to a high academic school, just like my high school. And I wanted to go to a small school, just like my high school. I love the teacher-to-student interaction. And knowing almost everyone on campus. I'll walk around and I'll just be like, I've seen that kid like 6 times today or something like that. So I just think that's awesome. And then also wanted to play Division I. And I really wanted a faith-based college because I didn't have that in high school. And faith is just like a huge piece in my life. And so Holy Cross, I'm not Catholic, I'm Christian, but it's that's something I wanted for sure in my college experience. And I'm so happy about it. And then also I love purple, like
Hmm.
purple and white, so clean. Like I
Yeah.
love it. It's so cool. So that's kind of how it happened. And I love it here. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I definitely love those black and purple jerseys that you guys rock occasionally on the road. I think those are absolute filthy, and I wish
Yeah.
you guys wore them for more home games just because I like going to Holy Cross home games, and I
Mhm.
I need to see those a little bit more than the white jerseys sometimes. I'm not gonna lie with you.
That's valid. I'm just like, I'm actually the one person on my team that probably doesn't like the black jerseys, but that's probably just because I'm like, if we're a purple school, we got to be wearing as much purple as we can. That's my opinion. But
Yeah.
occasionally the black jerseys are pretty sick, especially because we wore them against Providence this year. That was cool. I will have to say that was pretty cool.
Now, talk about what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey. Was it the speed of the game, decision making? Like, what was like the thing that you had to work on the most? I guess your freshman year.
Yeah. I always knew listening to older girls around me committing, going to college, that speed was the main difference between high school hockey and college hockey. And to be completely fair, I personally didn't think speed was the biggest difference. And I think that's because in high school, we had a really hard schedule. We played against really good players. It felt like the speed of a college game, and that might be sound weird, but it really did. And we would play against college girls in the summer, and so it just felt like I kind of anticipated the speed of the game. Obviously, it's faster when you get there, but growing up in Minnesota, there was a lot of opportunity to realize how fast the game was. I would personally say the biggest difference was the grit. Just the little nudges in the shoulder, just the little pushes when the ref's not looking, just getting back to that fighting for position, I'd say, is definitely the biggest difference. And kind of needing to work for everything you do, work to get to the red line and dump it, work to get a shot on net. That's kind of what I've been able to see. Like, obviously, you can always get faster, and that's something I'm always trying to work on because the game's always getting faster. But I think the little grit, like the grittiness of the game, is definitely taken a step up in college.
Yeah, and obviously when you're defending the Wethington sisters and Lily Delianitas, you're gonna do pretty
Oh,
well in college heading in.
Yep, absolutely. Nope, I had lots of experiences in high school with some of the best players in the state. It's been amazing going to practice every day, playing with the Wethingtons, Lily, Addie Burton, a bunch of players, Izzy Daniel.
Hmm.
It's just been amazing. And Audrey's my best friend. So we've been definitely done some one-on-ones before on the ice. And she pushes me and it's awesome.
Have you beaten her one on one before? Because you can say that. Not many people can say that.
I think I have. I mean, I definitely have when I was younger. I mean, I still can poke check her occasionally. She's a great player. She just works so hard. And I told her this the other day that every day I get on the ice for practice, all I want to do is have my inner Audrey in me because she just works like a workhorse. So
Yeah,
every time I need a little push in practice, I'm just like, just center your inner Audrey and
yeah,
go get the puck. Like that's literally exactly how I that's how I look to do in practice. I'm just like, what can I do to be like Audrey?
exactly. And obviously, shout out to Addie Burton because I don't know how many people know this, but we were born on the same exact day. I found this out when I was doing research for a Yale women's hockey player podcast. I was like, that's pretty cool. So same exact day. Like,
Wait, that's crazy. I was
mhm.
just texting with her the other day because she actually tore her ACL. She had surgery a year ago, a couple days ago. So we're basically on the same path with our injury, just a year apart. So I've been texting with her recently. Yeah, she's great, and Yale's been doing awesome this year.
Yeah,
I'm really happy for her.
yeah. So November 30th. So great day. I just wanted to give that her a shout out. I don't know if she'll
A
be
little
listening to
shout
it,
out.
but
Mhm.
I thought that was an interesting fact.
That's
Now,
so cool.
talking about your college hockey experience with Holy Cross freshman year, what was that like for you? Obviously, it was very challenging without fans in the building, with all the schedule changes that Hockey East had. And so, talk about what that was like for you and what you learned from that year.
Yeah, freshman year was hard. It was really hard. Yeah, I school was definitely not the same. The fall semester, there were only four sports teams on campus. It was men's and women's hockey and men's and women's basketball. So it was very odd to be on campus just living there as a freshman who's never lived on their own ever and going to a completely different side of the country. It was hard. I had a lot to learn with hockey. It was definitely a learning experience, but it was just a hard year not having fans in the stands. My parents couldn't come into buildings, couldn't come into the rink. Like there were little stand-up photo boards in the stands. It was definitely hard, and at times, like I would just break down. But my coaches and our athletic department was really, really supportive of us. They understood exactly what we were going through. Mental health was a huge thing that we were dealing with a lot of the year, and I think almost everyone was, but we all really were a family my freshman year, and it's sad that like it couldn't have been a better freshman year, but for what it was, I didn't know what college was necessarily like going into it. So for me, it wasn't all that bad. This year has just like been a complete jump for me. Like I love it this year. I loved it last year for what it was, but I know a lot of the players that have had better years, have had normal years, were not enjoying last year. But genuinely, I'm really thankful for it. I learned a lot my freshman year.
And obviously, I feel like that. Do you think that was a big reason why you had a big improvement this year to your game? Just looking at your stats and just watching you play this year,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like you had improved a lot regarding your game from your freshman year to your sophomore year. So I guess what was like the biggest improvement you've made to your game so far in college, and was that a big reason why just having more of a normal season?
Yeah, honestly, my confidence is probably one of the things I have to work on most with hockey because when I'm confident, I play my best. My freshman year, I was not confident at all. I was very nervous. It was a new environment. I was trying not to mess up. It was really hard. I definitely struggled a bit my freshman year. But over the summer, I put in work every single day, more than I have any other year. I would go on 4 mile runs almost every single day of the year, skated a ton, worked on my speed, and just tried to play grittier, just like I was saying earlier, just channel your inner Audrey. But I definitely came back this year with a like little fire under my butt. And I was just ready to play. I just was like, I have 3 more years left here. Like one of them's already gone. It wasn't a full season because of COVID. We were missing games. Like parents couldn't come. Like I need to make this worth it. Forget like not being confident. Like I'm confident. I know I should be here. And ever since I got back on campus, I just played with confidence and my game kind of came back to me like I had in high school. I kind of did lose it there for a minute, but I loved this season. I played a little bit on the power play, the penalty kill, got some points, my first collegiate points. Haven't gotten a goal yet though. Working
That's
on
gonna be
that.
fun though. Don't worry.
Goal for that's my goal for next year is to get a goal, but yeah, I definitely felt like I contributed a lot more this year. And I was a freshman my freshman year. Like it was hard. We had a lot of senior defense, and it's just this year I just definitely have enjoyed in all aspects everything about it much more.
Oh yeah, and obviously, if you score your goal, then you get to tie my record at the Heart Center for goals because I scored a goal at the Heart Center back in the day. So, hopefully, you break
Okay.
my record at some point.
I hope to break your record. I hope to get to your record. But
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be amazing.
Well, every time I go to like Holy Cross games and like you guys play like a good player like Skylar Fontaine, I'm like I've technically scored more goals at the Heart Center than Skylar Fontaine has, and
Absolutely.
like no one else. I find it funny because it's like she's obviously such a better player than I will ever be, but I just find it's funny doing stuff like that.
No, absolutely. I would do the same thing. I mean, I've done the same thing. Been like, oh, I scored a game-winning goal at the XL Energy Center in the state championship game. That's better than so and so, little
Yeah,
things like, oh, that's better than this wild player, or, I don't know. But yeah, so I'll work on that. That's the goal for next year. Once I can move
yeah.
on from my injury, hopefully.
Yeah, but you did have some good moments this year. But I do want to talk about. Obviously, this was not it was not an easy season for your team. You know, only winning 3 games and losing to Providence in the playoffs. So I guess like how'd you handle the adversity of not getting not having a better record than you wanted, and just talk about how are you going to use this season heading into next year to improve record wise and obviously try to win in the playoffs as well.
Absolutely. Um, I I'm really proud of my team because the biggest difference that I noticed, well, we're a growing Division 1 program. We are only, I think, 4 years Division 1. We're not that far into being a Division 1 program. And we've made a lot of strides in a lot of different areas that a lot of people don't see on the score sheet. So, for example, last year, I think we won more games, I believe, my freshman year. But this year, we might not have won more games, but we've been so much closer in so many games. I think I heard there's a stat like I want to say it's 23 games. We were with 20, I don't know, 20 games or so. We were within one goal or one goal in an empty net. So a lot of the games we played this year, we were tied going into the third. We were up going into the third. We were really, really close throughout the game. We were up on Northeastern in one of the games we played this year. Um, and those little things really like kept us going this year. And I know the wins are going to come. It doesn't bother me to lose, although I won a lot in high school. It does not bother me to lose. I mean, obviously it bothers me to lose, but it doesn't tear us down. We all love each other so much, and we just keep pushing every single day when we come in into the rink. And we just need to figure out how to win. That's kind of where we're at. But because all of us are still so driven, we love each other so much, it will come, and we trust one another. We just gotta score some more goals.
Yeah. Well, I think a big example actually was that very first game against Northeastern, where Northeastern really jumped on your team and got like a 3-4 goal lead. But then for the rest of the game, I thought you played with them and it was a really tight game and they won like 5-4-1 or something like that. So I think that's just an example of once your team is in the game, you can compete with some of the top programs in Hockey East. And yeah, like you said, I think you're very close in a lot of those games. So I think next year, having that experience, going into some of these games next year, I feel like you're going to potentially pull some of those through than you did this year. And I really do believe that the wins will come next year. And I feel like Holy Cross could be surprising a lot of people next year. I'm prepared for it, but I don't think some people are.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, when you gave that example with Northeastern, my freshman year, I think we played them 2 times my freshman year, I believe. They scored a total of 20 goals on us in 2 games. This year, we played them 3 times, and they only scored, I think, 10 goals on us.
Yeah.
So that just kind of shows, and it was obviously spread out through a couple games, but that just shows the difference, the grit. I mean, we believe in ourselves. We just got to push over the edge. And there were so many games where our coaches would come back in the locker room and just be like, and we would be in tears. We would just be so frustrated. And our coaches would just be like, this one stings, you guys. Like it's hard because a lot of the times the puck just doesn't go your way, but we're so driven and we're ready to go for next year. And all my teammates, I wish I could be with them right now, but they're working up at the rink. So
Hmm.
running, conditioning, and we'll get there. I'm
Hmm.
confident.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I feel like this year was tough for your team because I feel like you were the only school like in college hockey that like wouldn't allow like fans in the rink. So I feel like that must have been like tough to not have that like support behind your team because going to the games I've gone to this year, the student turnout is actually pretty good. At least I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think like throughout, I mean, our school has been a little bit like on the conservative side of letting spectators come into games. I know my parents actually never got to see a home game of mine. They went to Penn State and they went to Vermont and Northeastern. But it never lined up when they wanted to come, when they were able to come into my games, because as soon as they were going to come see me play, I tore my ACL. So it's
Yeah.
like, it never worked. But the fans, the student athletes, the fact that all of our athletic programs facilities are in one building is really helpful because kids are just walking by and they're like, hey, I'm just going to stop at the game. So I think this year there have been some pretty good crowds, and I'm expecting next year to be even better with the fans, hopefully.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was looking forward to see some of those games, and unfortunately, it just couldn't happen. But hopefully next year we get a full
Next time.
normal season. So that's kind of my hope. But I did get the chance to see some games this year, so that's good at least.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
One of my favorite games that I saw this year was when your team beat Boston University. Talk a little bit about that because your goalie played outstanding and you found a way to get the job done in that game.
Absolutely. That was definitely another highlight of our season. Our goalie, Maddie Beck, was in net. She's actually in my grade. She didn't come last year to campus, but it was great to have her as an addition this year. Maddie Beck, Jada Brennan, and Sarah Street, they've all been great goalies for us this year, but it was really special for Maddie to get a shutout that game. We've never beaten Boston University in our school history. Coach Katie LaChapelle used to coach there. My mentor, Nina Rogers, the girl I always looked up to, she used to play there. It's just a really, really good feeling for our team to have a shutout and score 2 goals. I mean, that was definitely one of the biggest moments. And then we went and played them at BU the next day, and I think it was a 2-1 game for the majority. I don't know if it ended 2-1, but it was a very, very tight game. So we were really impressed with how our team played that weekend. It was really a really fun one, that's for sure.
Now, one question I like to ask before you get into the non-hockey segment is, when you look back on it now, like how would you evaluate your college hockey experience so far with Holy Cross?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. And I say this to everyone. I say this to little girls who are looking to play college hockey. I tell them, hey, look at Holy Cross.
Hmm.
Um, my coaches are like outstanding and they care so much about us. They're great, great coaches. I love going to skills sessions. I learned so much for them, and they care about each and every one of us individually, which is something special. I mean, I'm sure a lot of other programs have coaches that do that as well, but they really take the time and know you well, think about you as a human being before a hockey player, which is super special. Then our team has really no issues with one another. Like a lot of teams do have like little inter team issues, cliques, stuff like that. Our team loves each other, and that's what keeps us showing up at the rink every day. Like, yeah, we might not win that many games, but we love to play hockey and we love to put on the jersey together. Whenever we have free time outside of school, our whole team is together. No one is not with us. Like it's everyone. It's just such a great place. And yeah, I would say if you're looking for high academic school with a lot of attention on the students, because there's not too many students there, super close to Boston. great athletic programs. Holy Cross is definitely a place to look at.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I'm very, very thankful that I chose Holy Cross, and my life would be so different if I didn't. And I'm just very, very grateful for how my path ended up paving out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I just want to get on that because I think Holy Cross does a great job with the hockey side of promoting hockey in Central Massachusetts. Obviously, it means a lot to me because Holy Cross did a lot of things for my hockey career, helped me play, and really just they do a good job promoting the game and helping grow it here in Central Mass. And Central Mass means a lot to myself, and I really want the hockey to grow here. And Holy Cross does a great job promoting it and doing the youth programs as well. So, thank you for that. It means a lot to us, and it was always fun going to those games growing up, and I still try to go there as many times as I can for both the men's and women's teams. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, love it.
So we're now in the segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. First one is, what's your favorite part about Worcester, and how long did it take you to pronounce it correctly?
Good, that's awesome. Some of my family members, extended family members, still don't say it right. It took me one time saying it wrong to never say it wrong again because it was like kind of at the time where I was very interested in Holy Cross, and as soon as I realized it wasn't Worcester, I was like, or wasn't Worcester, I was like, all right, it's Worcester. I cannot mess this one up again. Yeah, very quickly once I learned I was wrong, because I was wrong.
And
My
they'll
favorite
let you know too.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely do let you know. Don't even know who I was talking to, but it was a learning experience. My favorite thing about Worcester, honestly, there's a couple. I'm trying to think. I mean, the food's really good here. There's a lot of great little restaurants, little spots to go to. I think my favorite thing about Worcester is it's the second biggest city in New England, and I believe that's a stat that I have in my head. But it's definitely a place where if you need something, you need to go to Target, you need to go like you can get there. There's a lot of accessibility to a lot of different places. It feels like home, feels like where I'm kind of from. And it's not far from Boston. It's really easy to get to places, Boston, Providence. I just think the location's amazing and everything that it offers. It's really great and it's beautiful. The hills are really gorgeous.
Do you go to that Target in the mall, like in Blackstone?
I do, yeah. That's
Oh,
when I go to.
I worked at that Target back in high school, one of the worst jobs I've ever had. So I just had to put that there. But it's you go
Shout
there.
out.
It was brutal. It was brutal. So I just had to put that there because I was like,
Oh yeah.
that's definitely the Target they go to if I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
mistaken.
It
So
is. It is the Target we go to, but shout out Target right there, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
shout out to all the stock workers because I know how tough that is. That is not
Yeah,
an easy
shout out
job.
to them.
So
Yeah, shout out to them. And they keep it well stocked there. It's been good.
yeah, well, there was this guy I worked with. His name was Josh, and he made that job a lot better than it could have been. I don't know. Sometimes when you work with good people, it makes it not as bad as it can be. But oh my gosh, it was the worst job ever. I had terrible
Yeah.
hours, and
Oh,
I was trying to like do high school and do that job at the same time. It was just brutal. But
oh,
I made it through, so that's all that counts.
yeah. Shout out to Josh.
I don't. He definitely does not work there anymore. But if he does, then shout out to him, I guess.
That's awesome.
Now, what music do you like to listen to?
Um, I love music. Probably pop music, rap music. I really go a lot, like many genres I am into. I mean, my Spotify on Wrapped is always like insane. I always have, like, I think one year I listened to music. This is really like really bad, but I think I listened to music for over 52 days in one year.
This isn't too bad.
Without sleeping to listen to music. So it's like it's a lot of hours. So I don't know, I love music, but my favorite artist, this is kind of funny, but like I will never not be proud of saying this. One Direction is like my favorite artist. Like loved them when they were around, want them to still be around. Absolutely love them. So yeah, that's my music taste.
Yeah, no, I definitely I respect that. I respect that a lot. I like all different types of genres too, and I think for me, like I listen to a lot of music just because whenever I'm like working on something or driving around, I'm just listening to music just because it's
Okay.
something I do. So that's why I have so many hours, just because I'm constantly listening to it.
Yeah, it's good. I love it. I don't know what I'd do without it, to be honest.
Who's your favorite One Direction band member?
It's changed, but Niall Horan was kind of like my favorite as like time went on, probably from like 2010 all the way until like 2017. I've also really liked Harry, but those are definitely my two favorites. Harry is kind of more active right now musically, and I
I
think
feel
he's
like
getting
everyone likes him too.
everyone likes him, but like Niall, like I have a soft spot for him. He just hasn't been in the light since COVID very much. I mean, yeah, I've been to like so many different I was front row to one of the One Direction concerts and I talked to a couple of them. So I think that like yeah, I think I have Harry Styles water bottle in my bedroom. So I would say maybe it's Harry Styles now.
I do like Niall just because I think he's had, this might be controversial, but I think his soul music is the best out of all the ones that have left. I love some of the stuff he's made, and plus he's from Ireland too, and that's
Oh
awesome. I love
yeah.
Ireland, so
But yeah, he's definitely got a chill vibe to his music. Definitely easy to listen to. I think
mhm.
he's my mom's favorite too.
Yeah,
Um, he seems very down to earth. I think I could become really good friends with him. I think
yeah.
that that's what I've grown up to realize is like I feel like he could be in my friend group.
If there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
I think it's obvious with the red hair. I'd probably have to do Emma Stone.
Mhm.
I, because, yeah, I mean, I love her, and also just like my red hair kind of narrows down the options.
Yeah. For me, I'll probably choose Andrew Garfield, kind of going off the Spider-Man vibe a little bit with Emma Stone, but
Oh
I think
yeah,
he's a great
okay.
actor. So
Oh,
we
I'd
don't look
love.
alike, but I think like it would get my mannerisms down. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I love Andrew Garfield. He's definitely one of my favorite actors. But that's kind of perfect. Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. Nice.
Yeah, good connections. That's kind of
Yeah,
I had to put that in
absolutely.
there. So, what is your biggest pet peeve?
um, I definitely have like a lot of. I don't know. I definitely have a few pet peeves. It's hard to think of some, but one of them is definitely people at restaurants getting like the little toothpicks off like the front counter or whatever, and then just like doing it in front of people, like flossing or like using a toothpick in front, like while I'm having a conversation with them.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
really
bit
like.
gross. I agree with
I
you on
don't
that.
really like that. Yeah, no. So I'm sure I have more, but that's definitely one that comes to mind.
Mine's kind of a basic one, but traffic. I hate traffic, and I've been dealing with it a lot lately. So that's definitely the thing that makes me the most upset.
Yeah, and traffic out east is definitely a different
Oh
beast
yeah,
than it.
because people are aggressive. They're yelling at you. It's you have to. I learned how to drive. Kelly Square is. If you
Oh
learn how
my,
to drive in Kelly Square, you're the best driver of all time.
I figured out how to do it. I have a car here now, and I figured out how to do it, but I don't really like going over there. It's you kind of gotta like you can control yourself in your car, but you gotta really watch what others are doing and let them make the first move out here. You gotta let
Yeah,
you gotta let the Massachusetts drivers just take their lanes, do what they
yeah.
gotta do, and just sit nice and easy in the middle lane or in like in the right lane and just let people around you do the work and just get to your spot whenever you can.
Yeah, I will say this though, Massachusetts is the hardest state to get a driver's license in. So, and I learned how to drive in Worcester. One of my first driving lessons was
There you
going through the
go.
Worcester Highway, and oh my gosh, that was so scary. But I managed to make it through. So you're now just, I feel like you're now a better driver because you've driven here before.
Honestly, like I feel like I'm also a better driver because I've driven here as well.
So, but just don't take certain tendencies to Minnesota, like cutting people off and all that stuff, like yelling.
Oh
I
no.
think that would, I don't know how well that would go up there.
Well, people would just kind of freak out, I think. And
Yeah.
people out here will maybe give you a little honk or something like that. Like it's kind of more scary to do it out here, I'd say, but back home you just feel bad doing it.
I wouldn't feel bad to be honest with you. Some people do
Sure
need
you
to move a
do.
little bit, but maybe that's just the East Coast thing in me.
I think so.
Now, speaking of your teammates, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of them. So, obviously, your team might have the best hair in all of Hockey East, especially with Carly Bieniek being one of the
Oh,
only girls on the all hockey hair team. You have some
absolutely.
good hair as well. So, I was curious, who do you think has the best hair on the Holy Cross women's hockey team? It's got to be Carly, I think, but I feel like you could be number two.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I have really long hair, and I love my long hair. So I will give a little shout out to myself for just for just my long red hair, a little rare, but no. Carly B has a mane. It's awesome. She was on the all hockey hair team, which is so like that's a big accomplishment in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So that's really cool for her. I want to say Lily Cataldo. She probably has the best hair on our team because she's been able to do so many different things with it. She has long hair. She's really good at hairstyles. She always can put her hair up in a ponytail and like wrap a little hair around it, make it look all good. She's been a brunette. She's been a blonde. Like she knows how to do it. I
Yeah.
would say her for sure. I mean, yeah, I think she's got it best.
Now, obviously, Carly's going to be a senior this year. So, is there any possibility that she could do that hair flip for one starting lineup, one game? We need to see it back for
I
college.
would I will push her on that. I will definitely ask her about that. She should. I mean, I
Hmm.
think that'd be great.
Yeah, that'll definitely be viral again. But
Oh,
for one last year, you got to do it. So that's my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, you got to do it on your last year. I'll get a video of it. We need to get one for our senior
Yeah.
year.
So now, who is the funniest on the team?
We have a lot of funny people on our team. I'm gonna say Jada Brennan. She literally makes me laugh so hard. And I'm gonna miss her next year. And I was even talking about it with one of my teammates. Me and my teammate Via Graves, she's the other sophomore defense on our team. We were both injured at the end of the year. And we were just sitting on the bench one day at practice and we're like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna miss Jada, but I'm just really gonna miss her personality and her jokes. Like it's something about it. She's hilarious. It makes me laugh every
Yeah.
day. I miss her a ton.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team, and Emma Min and all the people I've had on the podcast before. But besides yourself, who has the best style on the team? I see some of the pregame outfits you pull off, though. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I definitely am a little bit bold with my pregame outfits. I love wearing heels, and that's probably the worst thing about tearing my ACL is I can't wear heels for like 6 months. That really, really hurt when I heard that. But the best style on my team. I'm gonna say Lily Cataldo again. She comes out strong. She has the best hair. She has the best style. Everyone wants to go in her closet and try on clothes. Like she definitely has the best style on our team, hands down.
Now, last non-hockey question is: what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Oh, I have one. I have one in mind. Marc Andre Fleury being traded to the Minnesota Wild.
You
That
must
is
be pumped about that.
I am so pumped about that. That was the best news I could hear because I'm a big Minnesota Wild fan. They're my like favorite team and they're just doing amazing right now. Like I'm always on Twitter looking at everything about them. But I was a huge Golden Knights fan when they became a team. I go to Vegas with my family a lot. We just tend to go there. And Marc Andre Fleury, I loved him. I was so sad when he got traded to Chicago,
Yeah, they
but
did
now
him
I'm
dirty. Not gonna
so
lie.
yeah, they did. And now I'm so happy that
Yeah.
he got traded to Minnesota. Like I literally could like put everything aside, yes, I think 2 days ago when the Wild were playing and he just flew in. I mean, I think that's the biggest news that I've heard in a long time. And I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, dude's an absolute beauty too. So you gotta love that. But no, it definitely should be interesting. And then I guess for my most interesting thing I saw and read this week, it's gonna stay with the Wild. One of my favorite college hockey players, Vladislav Firstov, just signed his entry level deal with the Wild. So shout out to him. He's definitely not listening, but one of my favorite players to watch from UConn since that's my team. So definitely love Vlad and gonna miss him a lot. So
That's crazy because like honestly, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Like I 2 years ago from today, I would not have known what you were talking about, but I literally refresh Twitter every day and see not and look for the Wild news that literally happened a couple hours ago.
hmm
Um,
you're
I
gonna love Vlad. He's a good guy.
That's cool. I'm like up to date with like all the hockey news now, so like I can actually say that is pretty cool news.
Yeah, obviously hockey, so you gotta like that too. But
Yep.
you want to know what his nickname on the team was? I think you're gonna find it funny. Vladdy Daddy. I thought it was the funniest nickname of all
Daddy,
time.
daddy, that better stick. That needs to stick because the Wild makes a lot of T-shirts out of their nicknames, and they make a lot of that for the fans to buy, and I would definitely buy
Yeah,
that.
and him and Kaprizov potentially, like two Russians on the team. It could be fun to watch. So I'm
Dog,
definitely looking forward to that. But
Yeah, that would be
he's gonna be with Iowa for the rest of this year, and then next year will be with the competing for the Wild training
true.
team.
What position does he play? Is he a forward?
Yeah, he's the left wing.
Kaprizov's a left wing, but maybe he can move to the right to be with
Yeah,
Kaprizov.
maybe,
Maybe he can center Kaprizov and Zuccarello. That would be amazing.
that would be awesome to see. So shout out to him for that. But
Yeah, shout
getting
out.
back to some hockey questions now. First one, I guess, is what should be done to help grow women's hockey?
I mean, honestly, what we're doing right now, like, this is amazing. Having like girls speak on podcasts and explain their experiences and how they got to college hockey, how they got to the level they were. Like, I know I definitely would have listened to these podcasts when I was younger, because it's hard to like know what path you're going to take, and having like people like you grow the game just like so amazing. Like, this is exactly what girls hockey needs. I also think strong youth programs is probably an important thing, and I think as we've been talking about it throughout the country, they've been growing as time has gone on. I mean, the Olympics only come around like every 4 years, but I think I think the great thing about the Northeast is that there's so many colleges in so many different areas. It's hard to miss as a young girl, as a young hockey player. I wish that out in other states, in Minnesota, there were more college teams, because college teams are accessible to little kids. And so I think hopefully more teams, more college teams. Notre Dame would be so sick. Or
Michigan should have one. It's a joke that they don't have one with all the money that school
Michigan.
makes.
I know Michigan. That would be amazing. Like, no, like when North Dakota canceled their program, that like shattered some people's hearts. Like, I loved North Dakota. But yeah, I think all those things, the things you're doing, like, so amazing. Like, thank you for doing this. It's really great, but also just building the game from the ground up, but having accessible mentors to like look up to
Mm-hmm.
is a really great thing. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the kind words. That means a lot to me. That made my day, Grace. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, no, the goal of the platform is to obviously help grow college hockey for both the men's and women's side. I feel like there's a lot of platforms that only focus on men's college hockey or women's college hockey. So hopefully this is the first platform that at least I can think of that can grow both the men's and women's games. So that's what I'm trying to do. And it's been fun talking to players like yourself, because if you guys didn't want to come on, then obviously this would not be as fun as it would, or it wouldn't be as big as I guess as it is now, which it's still growing. I'm hoping to get it bigger than it is now, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Oh no, it's great. It's amazing.
Now, should body checking be allowed in women's hockey? I know you probably would say no just because you broke your collarbone when you did checking for the first time, but maybe you might have changed your tone in that in the past few years.
It's funny you say that. I actually think yes.
Oh, wow.
For a few, well, yes and no. I say yes because before I broke my collarbone playing boys hockey, I actually was in boys checking leagues. We learned how to check the right way. We learned how to do it safely, how to take a check, give a check. It was really good, and it was amazing. I think that every league could do that. I think girls could do that. I mean, the reason I broke my collarbone was because they had a sub player that was 18 years old playing with a seventh grade girl.
Oh,
So
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
that was it right there. And then as soon as I got hit, the kid was like, "You got to leave boys hockey. No girls belong in boys hockey." So it was a little bit of a conflict there.
Well, hope that
I,
guy's not doing well. Not going to be honest, being honest with you.
I trust me. I wish I knew his name.
Yeah.
Anyways, but and well, and his parents, as we left, said the same thing. So that's even worse. You got to nurture your kids to just be
Yeah.
like, yeah. Anyways,
You're playing
but
D1 hockey. I don't think he is. So that's like one thing. You
that's
got the last laugh.
good point. That's a good point. I'm on this podcast and I don't know where he is. So no, but I think yes, but at the same time, there's a type of beauty to girls hockey. The fact that it's so creative without needing to have hits. Like, a lot of boys hockey is bouncing pucks flipping here, there. Like, checks are cool, but like girls hockey has some type of flow to it. Like, there's just something about it. Also, the one other thing I think that could kind of be hard about checking is boys check and then they get over it. Girls, if there's any type of jealousy or like any type of emotion coming up in your chest right about as you want it, like, girls are ruthless on the ice. Like, girls have emotions that are like, they lash out with them, I'd say. So I think like it could get dangerous for girls hockey, but I think if it's brought up in the correct sense with correct training and how to check and receive at like a young age, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade when I learned. I think that could be beneficial and it could eventually grow into the game. So I'm indifferent, but if it was now, I would love to check.
I wish like there was a way like you could still have like the skating aspect of women's hockey with the checking, like because I would love to see some open ice hits. I think that would be awesome to see.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. It's like my favorite thing. If I could do that, I totally would.
What's like the biggest check you've ever seen so far in college hockey? Because I know they happen. Like people say that don't happen are obviously never seen the game because they do happen.
In girls hockey?
Like for and with Holy Cross, like in the past two
Oh,
years.
yeah. Honestly, this is crazy, but like I have a teammate named Millie Serum.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I are always like checking each other in practice, either whether it's mid ice or on the boards. Like we always have the biggest hits and run into each other. I honestly think we had a couple collisions in games like right on the blue line where we just bounce. I think like honestly team to team check is kind of like the worst thing that her and I have experienced the most out of anyone on our team. Other than that, I think she did check someone in our final home game against Merrimack and she ended up getting ejected, but it
Oh,
wasn't as bad as it should have been. She didn't hop up off her feet. Like the review made it kind of look, it was just kind of weird, but I've definitely seen some big checks and I don't know. They're always fun to watch, I'd say.
oh yeah, definitely. Now,
Yeah.
do you have any shout outs you want to give before the interview ends? Just any of your family members, teammates, or friends?
Yeah, yeah, no, that'd be great. First of course, shout out to my family. Like my parents, I genuinely would not have been here without them being an athlete, like being a hockey player, being a college athlete, like Division 1, like it would have never happened. They supported me every step of the way, highs and lows. They would drive me to every practice. And they even sometimes do still drive me to practice because they just love it so much. And I just literally could not have asked for a better childhood. And I think about it all the time. And my brother, Peter, he's a senior in high school and he wants to play baseball in college, which he's dealing with a lot of the COVID recruiting problems right now. It's just kind of a lot. He's always pushed me all my life. And so shout out to him. Um, and then my coaches, of course, like literally couldn't be here without them. Like every step of the way, they've grown me and shaped me into the player I am. And then, but like most of all, I'd probably say like God, because genuinely, like I would not be here without him. Like in so many different aspects, like my faith, and my religion. God, I would never have been here. Like he wakes me up in the morning and helps me go to sleep at night. Like it's all the little things. I could not have been as like I could not have had nearly as much talent as I've had, success, luck. Probably wouldn't be at Holy Cross, all of it. Like so, most of all, definitely Jesus and my faith. So yeah, those are definitely my shout outs. But yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Grace. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself. And I wish you all the best for your injury recovery. And I can't wait to see you get back on the ice soon and see you play in person. Normally, for most schools, I have to be like, I hope you can't wait to see you guys come out east and play in person. But I always see your team play in person. So I can't wait for that next season. Should be fun.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really love like what you're doing. I love your goal and what you want to use these podcasts for. Like I think you'll go far. You put a lot of work into this and a lot of people know your name. A lot of people know your account. So
Oh,
I'm
really? People know
oh
my name, like Matt? I don't think that's the
I don't
case.
know your name, but they know college hockey talk. Like they
Awesome.
know it. Like yeah, you can just say it here and there. People know what it is, and I think that shows a lot. So thank you again for having me. I'm very honored to be on this podcast. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on and thanks so much for the kind words. It means a lot to myself.
Appreciate it.